Super excited today to welcome you to Shut Up and Thrive. My name is Brandon Styll, and I will be joining you for the next hour with our incredible host, Debra Sunderland.
Hi, Brandon, and welcome, everyone. We're super excited to grow together and get out of drama. We know that drama exists not outside of ourselves, but inside of ourselves. That's what we're talking about.
All through ourselves is just a drama pit, I'm telling you, everywhere.
Drama. Yeah. And then we're complaining and blaming someone else for the drama we have. But we're here to talk to you about what does it really mean to shut up? What are we shutting up here, Brandon?
Well, we're shutting up the inner critic inside of us that's telling us that we're not good enough, that we didn't do a good enough job on that, and that we're failing at everything.
Yeah, we're not good enough, or we don't have enough.
We don't have enough,
or someone's not doing it the way we want them to do it, so we're not going to have enough, so we're trying to control them. And can we control others?
No.
But what happens?
What happens when we try and control others? Bad things happen. We go below the line.
Well, we don't get the result we want, right? Because we can't, and then we get frustrated and we get unhappy with ourselves and we spiral down further below the line.
And then you know what we do?
What do?
We blame.
We
blame other people for the results in which we've created.
Exactly. Did you hear that all? How we might be a part of creating the results we don't want by blaming other people. We become victims because other people aren't doing what we want them to do. Gosh, I think that's happening in the United States pretty much right now with the presidency.
It's happening all over the place.
Yeah, it is.
The blame piece to me, like when we first did this Shut Up and Thrive, you were real big on shut up the inner critic inside of you. And I said, I want people to stop blaming her. Every time you turn the news on, it is whose fault is this? And Elon Musk is this, and Donald Trump is this, and Joe Biden is this. And it's like, I would love to see a politician just stand up and go, we really have to look inside of ourselves and make the best decisions. And I feel like that one wasn't the best decision that I made. And I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to do better next time.
Yeah.
When have you ever heard somebody say that?
No, I've not. Take ownership. I've heard people really taking ownership for the first commitment of the conscious work that we're doing is I'm going to be radically responsible for the results I have, especially the ones I don't want, because we can't change results, but we can always change the way we think, feel, and behave that lead to our results. And we can change the way we make our decisions. Either we're making them from fear and control, which doesn't lead to the results we want, or we can make them from trust and curiosity. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, because if we feel like these dear people who've lost their jobs because there's been layoff after layoff because the government's cleaning house. Well, it very, 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 very often happens that, oh my gosh, now what do I do? I don't have work. And then people get scared. And when they get scared, they can't think straight and they're spinning, and they might get depressed. And then they feel stuck. That's typically what happens when we get an unexpected result we don't want, because those layoffs happen very quickly. So it's normal to feel that way, guys. So we're not saying don't feel your feelings, feel your sadness, feel your anger, let it come all the way through you. Allow it to be there, because that's emotional intelligence, is to allow the feeling to come through you in 90 seconds is the biggest it ever, longest it lasts. And it comes in little tiny ways, but it can come on in full terror, full anger. Totally. There's nothing wrong with you, dear ones. But we want to not allow those triggers to drive our decision-making. The fearful mind that wants you to hold on to how things should be, how things shouldn't be. And
right
then
now,
we're fighting.
Too.
Yeah, right now. And we're fighting what is. And when we're fighting what is, what happens?
Well, there's probably an answer you want me to say. When you're fighting what is, you lose track of what could be.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I look at it and I think in these moments, we get so stressed and we're so caught up in things. But, you know, even you could say, hey, look, let's blame somebody. You could blame the government for laying you off. And this is, tell me if I'm going in the wrong direction. But for me personally, this is where prayer works for me, because you know what? You have no idea that when one door closes, another door opens. And I look at things and I go, man, you know, the worst day of my life, when I look back on it, the worst day of my life, at the time I thought was the worst day of my life, today I look back on and say it was the best day of my life.
Amazing.
Because in the moment, I couldn't see what that was gonna do for me, what kind of motivation that was for me, how it woke me up, and I started making different decisions. But I needed that catalyst. I needed that moment
That's
to
right.
smack me across the side of the face. And in the moment, I couldn't foresee any moment where I would be able to thrive. But I started praying and I said, you know what? I can't control this right now. I can
Absolutely.
only control myself and do the next right thing. And then that started a snowball. And today, 5 years later, I look at it and I go, man, I'm sure glad that moment happened. But in the moment, we can't see that. And that's
Yes.
why I give it away. I
Yes.
give it away to God and I say,
Yes.
whatever it is, take this, steer me in the right
Yeah,
direction.
I love that. So basically, what you're saying, and this is what I want to share with all people, it gets scary because we don't know what's coming. And when we think about the future, even 2 minutes from now is the future, we
Yeah.
can't control the fearful mind. It's common for all of us to want to know what's going to happen, control what's going to happen, and we can't. So then we get more scared, more anxious, more frustrated. So the only thing we can really do is trust that a loving universe, a loving God, which I believe as well, is working on our behalf with what we can't see, and trusting that things are working for us instead of against us. So we know that the unconscious mind, the ego, the amygdala is constantly thinking everything and everyone is a threat. And it's battening down hatches to say, nope, this isn't for you. Nope, this might not be for you. Nope, this person isn't for you. Nope, this team isn't working. It is going to constantly tell you that because it wants to keep you safe. And in safety, you're going to stay stuck. You're going to stay right where you are. So we're going to talk about how do we change and step into the unknown, but consciously when results are occurring that we don't want and we can't control. We want to give you some specifics and hopefully you'll be able to apply them to what's going on in your personal life, your professional life, your business, your teams, because we are all the same, dear ones. No one is different than anyone else. The only thing, just like Viktor Frankl, who was in the Holocaust, who decided he was going to make his life by what he thought and what he was going to believe in order to get through the Holocaust, in order then to live a life that was thriving, not just surviving even after the Holocaust. So we want to encourage you. The only way we can thrive is to start to look at how is this result I don't want, which Brandon was just saying, for me. I would love for you to take a few deep breaths, let your fear, let your anger, let your frustration, let your sadness be there, totally normal. And then once it passes through you, ask, get into curiosity. How is this for me? Because again, our normal path is to be reactive and to put defenses up immediately, and we're going into threat. So I want you to start flipping it. How is this for me? How is this person for me? How is this situation for me? And gosh, guys, this is a constant practice because every 4 seconds we go back into threat. We do this work and then we're in threat again. So it is a constant. And you know that you're in threat because your body doesn't feel good. Your stomach is gurgling and anxious. Your chest is tight. Your back and your neck is stiff. Your shoulders are in a bunch. That's because your body is believing you're in threat. So that's why we practice breathing, deep breaths all the time, because the breath releases this tension. And then we can go to checking our thoughts. So Shut Up and Thrive is about checking your thoughts. The only thing you can control is what you want to believe. And so when you are suffering, I want you to check what you're telling yourself, because we can always shift that. And that shift is what we're going to work on today.
I love that. Well, we start this show off and we're pretty hot and heavy.
Yeah.
We just shot out of a cannon today. One thing we don't do a lot of is just kind of a little check-in since the last conversation that we have.
Love that.
How are you doing? Like, how's
Thank you.
everything going with you?
Yeah, thank you. I am currently in the space of coming out of a bit of fear. I had a big conversation with a CEO yesterday. We've been talking for a few months and building trust together. And I would love to support him in his leadership with his team and his very large company. They are like all the companies I've been with, different industries, different sizes of people. And this dear leader is not getting the results he wants, potentially has a $4.4 million deficit, and is very frustrated and might want to fire his CFO, and went into anger. And I'm like, okay, whoa. Let's step back and look at how these results happened. And anyway, I'm going into the weeds around this. So
I was going to stop you in about 3 seconds.
Yeah. So let me get back to me. So working with him yesterday and giving him some tools for him to grab a new perspective on how this is for him and what's his responsibility that he created, how he unintentionally created this outcome. Super excited that I could have that possibility, but then also a little anxious, like, what if we don't move forward? And my want is that I can, because I want to support him, but he has to be willing, and he might not be willing. And I would be sad if he doesn't choose to go forward. So looking to the future, I'm getting scared because I don't know what he's going to decide. And so taking a few deep breaths, that if he chooses not to work with me, chooses not to go forward with me, I will be okay. He will be okay. And something else will be coming towards me that I don't know is what is for me, but it will be, I'm going to assume and trust, not assume, trust that it will be better for me.
Yeah.
So what I did on the way here was breathe, pray, and give Jimmy, this dear man, into God's hands. If this is supposed to happen, it's not for me to change him. It's not for me to convince him. It's to trust. If this is the right fit, it'll work.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? Would you check in with me and let me know what's going on for you?
Yeah, no, I'm perpetually overwhelmed. That's my cross to bear right now with my particular things I control. I just have so much happening that it's just every day I'm trying to find balance in everything I do. And you've been a great help to me to kind of take a deep breath, pause. That's my biggest challenge is the pause. I go, and I never, then finally I stop and I go, what the hell is wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? Then I go, oh, I'm not pausing. I'm not taking that moment. I'm in my own self, and I'm now beating myself up because I've got myself into too many things. And it's been a lot. We just got through Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day was a couple weeks ago, and there was a lot of learning around Valentine's Day at our main, one of our restaurants at Mare Bowl in Brentwood.
Well, hold on. I just want to say real quick, thank you for sharing. And you're just like me and everyone else trying to get a lot of things done. If you're a leader in a company or a business owner or a CEO, like, totally kudos for noticing. First of all, I just want to appreciate you for noticing that you weren't pausing to breathe and you're just on autopilot, running, which most of us are, but you caught yourself.
And every
you catch
time
yourself.
I catch myself, and then I do it, and then I breathe, and I'll do a meditation, and I'll recenter myself, and I go, oh, that's exactly what I needed. That's exactly what, and if I did this every single morning.
Yeah.
And you gave me a really great bit of advice not long ago. You asked me a question, and I think I mentioned this on the last episode, but you said, what would unconditional love have you think? What would unconditional love say about you? And I said, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I don't know who this person is. You're like, no. Do you understand what unconditional love is? And I said, I think so. I have kids. Like, I love my kids unconditionally. It does not matter, and you said, okay, so if that's unconditional love, what would that say about you? And I think I said that I'm good enough, that I'm doing enough, that I'm a good father, that I'm a good friend, that I'm doing the things I need to be doing, and I'm doing it the right way. And she goes, good. So tell yourself that in your meditation. Tell yourself, because the hardest thing is that we don't love ourselves. You've got to love yourself unconditionally. No matter what, you have to love yourself unconditionally. So when I do take those pauses, I do that. I tell myself these things. And it's not like, well, I robbed a bank yesterday, but I'm a good person. That's not what I'm constantly trying to do the right thing every single day. But it's just because you let people down or you let balls drop, and it just beats you up. And it's like, but I may have 30 balls, but I got the top 10 really well. Yeah. But number 13 fell, and that's the ball that I'm like, damn it, how did I let ball 13 drop? And it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. And one thing I want to tweak, because I've heard you say it 3 times now, is right. I'm doing the right thing. Consciousness is not about rightness.
Oh.
Rightness is below the line activity.
Tell me more.
Well, having to be right or get it right or do what's right means that there's something the opposite wrong. And if we're looking to be right or get the right answer, it's putting us in a box. we're just trying to find that one way. And we want to be in a space of learning, like you brought up earlier. So we want to look at all ways of creating and what are the best opportunities. And can I get really curious around the many ways that I can go about this, or the many ways that my team can go about this, or the many ways that I can have a perspective around this instead of just one way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love for you to kind of maybe tweak that. And I think that's what maybe like, I would love for you to say what aligns with me and what am I called to do in this now moment versus maybe just the right way.
I can certainly do that. I can certainly work on that. And my right thing comes from being an addict, comes from doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
By a lot of standards. For my, it wasn't like I was doing the wrong thing. It was more how I coped with my feelings was not the appropriate way to do that. And so that can lead you on a path of what's considered the wrong thing. So when I say do the right thing, it's more of a moral compass thing, but I know exactly what you're saying, and I can certainly make that shift.
Yeah. I would love for you to be, because the unconscious mind, the fearful mind is trying to put us in a box to keep us safe. And it's looking for the one right way. That's how we get off kilter and don't thrive, because we're hunting. And then we're like stuck and we're wondering, how did I get stuck in this situation?
I want to welcome in Susan.
All right, Susan.
Susan, we can't see Susan, but Susan is now joining us live.
I love that.
She's watching the show. Susan, if you'd like to comment or ask any questions, please feel free to chat in the private chat section, and we can answer anything you have or any questions.
Susan is a dear friend of mine. We practiced conscious leadership together. That's how we met. Gosh, I think a decade ago. I love her to pieces. She's an amazing being, creating a lot of amazing things in the world. So thank you, Susan, for being here. So let's go back to Valentine's Day. What did you discover in when you walked in? Just like a couple sentences, and let's work what was happening there.
Well, I think that mistakes were made. When I say that, I mean, we started the week off, and one of our goals was to really push holidays. We wanted to push holidays a little farther than we have, because we've had open tables, and I'm like,
at the restaurant,
and we're telling people we're full, but we have open tables. Now we're seating people pretty quickly.
Okay.
But I said, I want to push that. And so they changed the algorithm on open table, and it added like 30 people every 15 minutes. Like, it was way off. And then we were short on staff. The scheduling manager didn't realize how busy we were actually going to be, and only scheduled 11 people, and we needed like 16.
Okay.
Right. And then the next Saturday, we only had 7 servers, and we had half the people coming. I mean, it was just we were set up for failure, and
on a very important day.
Valentine's
Day. Yeah.
So, around 4:00, we're all on the phone, and myself, the owner, everybody are rushing in to come help. And, I bust tables all night long. I'm pouring champagne for people in the lobby. We're doing everything we possibly can to kind of make everybody happy.
So what was the result that you ultimately got and didn't want?
A bunch of 1-star reviews, a bunch of people that were unhappy. The guest experience is everything to us. And, when they come in for a special night and it's not what they expected, and they had to wait an hour and a half when they had a reservation at 7:00, and they don't get sat until 8:30.
Yeah.
And then the food is a prefix meal. I don't think we communicated as well to everybody that this is going to be a set dinner. And we had people come in and go, we didn't know this. We wanted the shrimp and grits, and you don't have that tonight. And it's like, nope, we have the meal that we have.
Okay. So when you walked into the situation, were you planning on being there that day to work?
I was trying to not be there because I don't have necessarily a role in the building, and I wanted my team to be fully self-sufficient. But I was, in the back of my mind, I was ready to go in, but I didn't want to.
Okay. But you did go in. So to give us a layout, like you walked in, and then tell us what your thoughts were, tell us what your feelings were, tell us your action steps unconsciously, like what happened.
I just walk in and start responding. I mean, I don't like to walk in and start responding, but I walk in and I just start seeing stuff, and I just start moving. I mean,
you were reacting.
I'm just reacting the entire night. There was no plan. I didn't have a plan. There was no, I'm going to come in and do this, this, and this. I was not in control whatsoever. I was just responding to every single little
in
thing
panic mode.
in panic mode.
Panic
Yeah, I
mode.
mean, it
And
was
and you're like, okay, what were you like? Oh no, what's missing? What do I need to do? How can I help?
every
Yes.
time I turned my head, there was stuff to do.
Okay. And what were you feeling when you were in this panic mode? Do you remember?
I don't know if I have feelings. It's all execution. I mean, that moment is it's just laser focus, everything you're doing. There's no moment for feelings
I'm
in that
guessing you
moment.
were anxious.
I mean, you could say anxious. This is where I thrive in that moment because this is myself jumping in. I get to take
Well,
control and I thrive
yes.
in that. But it's at the end of the day, that's not what I want.
Well, it's
That the
at
result is not what I would want.
yeah. So I'm going to just say it from a reactive state. We're always in fear, toxic fear.
Mm.
That's below the line unconsciousness. So when we don't get a result we want, typically we jump in, try to fix things, take over the areas that aren't in our responsibility, try and fix things. And if you continue to do those things, like at the restaurant, what do you think your outcome is going to be going in the future? Like, how are things going to change if you continue to do these things?
They're not.
Okay.
No, and I think the powerful thing is you feel like a hero. You feel like, well, hey, look at me. I'm the boss and they needed me and I was able to come through and look at me. I bust 32 tables and I made 1,000,000 drinks and I cleaned glasses and I ran food. You feel like a hero in that moment. And I think that the real scary thing is that ego triangle or the drama triangle. When you look at it and you say there's an ego or there's a hero, but if there's a hero, there's also a villain and a victim.
Yeah. So if you're heroing, taking on more than your responsibility, because I'm going to guess, Brandon, just because you can do this, you're an 8 on the Enneagram. Those who know the Enneagram, it's eights are about active controlling. They are in to fix and control, and their downfall of their glitch is they don't want to be vulnerable. They want to be strong and courageous and control, and they don't want to be controlled themselves.
Yeah.
So you just fell into your pattern.
I
Right.
did.
It makes
For
total
sure.
sense. Right. And so you're heroing, you're stepping in other people's space, other people's responsibility, because it wasn't your job to do all these things.
Nope.
And then how did you feel after you had this inflection of like, oh, I'm going to save the day? Then how did you feel once you did all those things? And this was on your day, I'm sure, to be with your wife on Valentine's Day. So how did you feel about this?
It was I this is one of those moments where I took a pause.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that day, I stopped and I said, okay, I want to blame the guy that does the schedule. I wanted to blame the general manager. I wanted to blame the staff that said they couldn't work on Valentine's Day. Like, that's not a thing. Like, Valentine's Day is one of the busiest days of the year. And I stopped and I thought, wait a minute, what part do I play in this result that I did not want? And
Beautiful.
I really looked back into the previous week, and we have a holiday checklist. Did I hold him accountable to do the holiday checklist? This is, the general manager's been there less than a year, and he hasn't necessarily been the general manager on a Valentine's Day. Did I set him up for success on this? And how could I have led him in a different direction to where we could have had all this handled?
So I want to just interject real quick. We don't believe in consciousness and accountability. We believe in impeccable agreements, because most leaders talk about, I need to hold people accountable. First of all, no one wants to be held accountable because it feels icky. That means you don't trust me if you're trying to hold me accountable.
Yeah.
We want to raise up radically responsible people who own the outcomes, whether they're outcomes we want or whether they're outcomes we don't want. So how do we make clear agreements that are a whole yes in that agreement, and asking our people, the leader of scheduling, how can we get curious together, how we unintentionally, unconsciously created this together? Where can we get our learnings, and what are we going to do differently? What are you going to agree to? What do you have a whole yes to agreeing to going forward? And you make a clear agreement with each other, because it might not be something that's going to be a win for you, but it might be a win for him. So I'd love for you to consider, how can you shift that so you don't have to like check in around this and hold him accountable, but how do you make impeccable agreements where you're building trust, that you trust he is going to do this, and if he drops the ball, he's going to pick it up, not leaving it for you to pick up.
I mean, effective communication. I mean, knowing that that's what you're doing and explaining around this conversation that this is an impeccable agreement.
Yeah.
And I I think I assumed.
Yeah,
This is one of
beautiful.
well, this is one of those areas of one of those balls that you drop when you
Mhm.
look back, and then I beat myself up for it, and I go, "Damn it, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I go back beforehand?" You go, "Well, because I was at the other place, and
Right, right, right.
I was doing all these other things
S
at 3 restaurants," and it's like, ah,
So beautiful. So yeah, that makes total sense. So then you're like, okay, you're getting curious, like how did this happen? But then you also noticed that you wanted to blame him, and then you started to kind of blame yourself, like maybe I missed something. Not, it didn't sound like a way that was curious, but maybe like I did something wrong kind of feeling, and I should do it better. And I should have. So any shoulding on ourselves, guys, if we should on ourselves, that is blame. Blaming yourself or blaming someone else. They should have, or I should have. So are you willing to love and accept yourself when you notice that you're blaming yourself? And I'm going to guess that you jumped to that right away because you're going fast, right? So you're like, oh, then I must have done something wrong, or I didn't get this right, and I need to do this better. And
well, I just tried to find my own learning. Nobody yelled at me, and but I'm my hardest critic, and so I just you're the inner critic inside comes out and does start blaming
yeah,
you,
yeah.
and
And so,
that's where that
so in this now moment, just in this very now moment, did you take time to accept yourself that you're just running in your pattern, your 8 pattern of trying to control, trying to fix things? Did you just see that you're not your pattern, that you're just in your pattern? And did you really accept that you're right where you need to be and it's here for your learning?
I did.
Okay.
I really feel like I was able to do that. I think I had some help from you
Okay, beautiful.
after the fact, and we talked about a little bit of this. But I mean, I certainly let it go back there, and am now actively doing the things I need to do to ensure that the result next time is the result that I want.
What are you doing to make it different for next time? Will you share with us?
Well, I mean, there's just specifics. I've had individual meetings with people. I've talked about impeccable agreements on what the expectations are for the next time that we do this, which is Easter.
Okay, so let's go there. What are impeccable agreements?
Impeccable agreements are that we do the actual holiday checklist. We've revamped the holiday checklist.
So I'm going to take you
I'm
back a
giving you
little bit.
specifics.
Okay, so the 4, I'm going to just bring it for everyone, so to remind you as well. For the impeccable agreements are: 1, beautiful. We have a checklist of what people are to do for their roles, right? Impeccable agreements is also making clarity with the person doing those roles. Do they have a yes to doing this, a whole yes to doing it? Not assuming or not having expectations, because expectations always bite us in the butt. So asking that, going through the expectations or the list and saying, this is what we're asking of you. Do you have a yes to all these? And is there anywhere you don't have a yes to those? And making it safe for them to really truly say yes or no. Now, what happens in organizations is they don't really have a safe place for people to say no, because I'm just make up a story, not completely your situation, but they might be like, no, I can't do this because I've already agreed to these other things. Or if you want me to do these things, what do you want me to take off of the plate so I can follow through with these things? Or kind of a renegotiation, allowing a space for a real clear negotiation and an agreement in that, instead of just, this is what you have to do. Because
Okay.
when leaders say this is what you have to do, people then don't feel that they're engaged in the agreement. They're feeling like it's just a demand. And sometimes it will be a demand, like, hey, the house is burning down, go do right.
Yeah.
But when we're trying to build agreements with our teams, we want them to buy in by agreeing with us, but not out of fear that they have to do it, but out of a conversation around, this is what I see, or even open to, as a leader, hey, being open to hearing they might have a better idea around how this could be completed or a task could be done, or, and are you being willing to hear that there could be other ways of the checklist, just in that conversation?
Yeah, and I 100% am. And when I say expectation, I'm not trying to be defensive, but when I think 1-minute manager stuff, and I think about bad leadership, and I think about not communicating what expectations are. And when it comes to expectation, it's this is what the job is. And then it's obviously an open conversation around how you're going to execute that.
Beautiful.
But for the most part, it's I want you to know, I would like to discuss with you, have the conversation around the results that we had, what part I play in them, what part do you play in them? Let's look at that. What can we do differently? But the expectation, this is where the expectation is we're going to have 14 servers on a holiday. Okay, so let's look at that expectation. That is the finite, that's what we have to have. It's not like you're going to argue, well, I think we need 10.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
need 14 there. That is I'm telling you this is what my expectation is. And then we'll talk about how that's going to happen. We only have enough for 12. Well, we need to hire a couple more.
Yes.
Let's look at what that looks like, because I never want to go, how come you didn't have 14? Go, I had no idea. I didn't know 14 was the number. I
Absolutely.
want to
Absolutely.
be very clear in that.
Absolutely be very clear. And I just want to continue on with the Impago agreement. So the first one is get really clear on what you want and specifically what it is. So it could be 14 people. And by when do you want to make sure that they're secured? And do you, the managing the, what do you call him? Your person that your scheduler or whatever that he's doing is to say, do you have an agreement with me around this? Are you clear? Do you believe this is what's needed? And by when will you make sure that you will have these 14 people? Can we have a conversation around it?
Here's I'm as you're saying this, I'm realizing something.
Who was that?
I was part of this conversation when it actually happened.
Okay.
That's me heroing again.
Say more about that.
There's no reason I need to be in the conversation with the general manager and the assistant manager talking about the schedule.
Okay, beautiful. So you stepped in.
There's no bearing on my job. Like,
Okay,
there's
beautiful.
no way. I need to have that conversation with the general manager.
Okay.
And the general manager makes it all happen. That's me not trusting in the moment that that job is going to get done. And
Beautiful.
that in itself is a result I don't want.
Okay, beautiful. Because you've got other things to do. Beautiful.
I have a million. That's a.
So what do you want to say to the general manager then? So it's not on you.
Well, we had the conversation. I guess I didn't feel like the conversation would go the way that I wanted it to. So then I heroed him.
By trying to like telling him what to do or
to be a part of it. I'm just going to go. I'm going to be in that meeting with you.
Okay.
So that I can make sure that it goes the way that I want it.
Beautiful. And guys, I just want to say so many CEOs, business owners, leaders step into someone else's lane because of fear, just to make sure it happens the way they want so they get the outcome they want. But what it's saying to your general manager is what?
I don't trust you.
I don't trust you to do what your job is.
And if I have a whole heart yes from him that he understands, then I have to trust that he's going to do that and execute that, and then
right,
it should work well.
And so what is it saying to him that you stepped in? What is he probably gonna now, if you tend to have this tendency?
I tend to, yes. It's a cultural thing.
Okay. So you step in, and then eventually the people that you're stepping on their feet are going to be like, why bother? Because Brandon's going to come in and save the day. Now, this is unintentional. And so your GM is like, okay, and they're going to maybe fart around and not do things as quickly or as well, or not intentional, because if they drop the ball, you are going to save the day. So dropping balls isn't their responsibility to pick it up because they believe you're going to do it. And so I would love to get clear on with the general manager. Let's just say, hey, I'm going to trust you. Commitment, part of the commitment of impeccable agreements. I'm going to trust you that we have this agreement. And number 3 is, general manager, if balls drop, my want with you is that you clean up what it is. No blame or shame. No telling me why things didn't happen, getting to the solution and fixing it, but letting me know that balls were dropped and what you're doing about it and when you're going to do it by, and then coming back to you because trust is broken because the ball was dropped. And guys, we drop balls all the time because we're human. This is what we want to get out of blame and shame, is to rebuild trust. And he would come to you and say, Brandon, I dropped the ball. I said I was going to do this with my manager. I didn't. And this is the result. This is what I've done to fix it. I want to get back into integrity with you. What do I need to do to earn that trust with you so that you don't have to come in and be in that meeting with my manager?
Well, that would take a lot for him to say that. I don't think he would be able to have the wherewithal. He's so busy in all of his stuff. I don't think that would take a very evolved general manager to have that conversation.
But I would love for you to start working towards that. This is why multi-billion-dollar companies tell me they're too busy. But busyness is going to create more balls dropped, more revenue loss. And guess what? You're going to get even more busy because you're not going to then be focusing on what you need to. You're going to be scrambling, and we don't want to be scramblers. So busyness is the death of our growth.
Well, I'll tell you what has happened
Mhm.
is that as the leader in the entire organization, when I hero people, people see me doing that and they think that's what leadership looks like.
Absolutely.
So the real coaching for the general manager for me was as he sees me hero him, he in turn heroes his managers, and then the managers hero the servers. It just, that is the culture. And that's the thing that we have to stop.
Yep.
When I'm able to hold him accountable and we have impeccable agreements, what I've done, the actual thing that we've done is now I've explained to him how, or we've had the discussion around what do your managers own? Because if you're hearing them, you're looking at the schedule every time you're changing it, then just like you said, they're just going to do the schedule kind of here it is. And I know you're going to change anyway. So I'll just create a draft and hand it to you. It's not going to be well thought out because you know what? He doesn't own it.
Yeah.
It's not his. He doesn't have a whole yes when it comes to ensuring that schedule is perfect every time. And so what we've done is we've assigned rocks. We work on the EOS program. We've assigned rocks to each manager. We've given them ownership over a section. And you have a schedule. You've got a bar manager. You've got a service manager. But we've actually, where we've had balls dropped in the past couple months, I've assigned a manager to own those. We've written in milestones and we've got that whole yes from them that they want to do this. And now that set up a line of impeccable agreements with our general manager, where he can now come in weekly and go, was this done? And then I can ask him, were these things done? And I can check in on them. I can do it. So I try to set up a process that would actually fix most
Yes.
of the
Okay.
issues.
So we don't need to fix people, but we want to
Fix
challenge
the
them
issues.
to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Issues come from drama when we're on the triangle and we're taking on more than our responsibility or less than our responsibility. Issues happen because of our unconscious mind, not because people don't want to achieve. It's because we all get scared and we're at threat. So where is I going with this?
I think the ego loop's a great place. You said we get scared, we think a threat, and you have these thoughts, and then your thoughts create a feeling, and then from that feeling, what happens?
You behave in the way that's protective, defensively. And I was just telling this CEO that I was sharing with you guys before that I brought up yesterday that I'm hoping I get to work with. I said, dear so and so, it looks like you're playing defensively and there is no offensive plan. And I said, what does it look like when we have a football team and they're in defense? Meaning things have to be a certain way, things are right, it's my way or the highway, which is most leaderships. When we're playing defense and control and not offensively, we're not learning, we're not growing, the ball's not being moved forward. We're just trying to keep things together. And trying to keep things together is defense. So if we want to grow, we've got to start to trust. And how do we trust? How do we build trust? So when we drop the ball, which we all will because we're human, I can't say this enough, is can we give grace to people and believe that they're probably trying to do the best that they can, just like me. And they probably want the same result because who wants to suck? Who wants to not win? No one I know. And who wants to be not a part of a team growing and thriving together? We all do. But that is not the results we're getting. So, dear ones, we always want to look at the results we're unintentionally, unconsciously creating just because we're in our pattern of running, being busy, taking on, usually as leaders, more than our responsibility. And then we're creating people who aren't stepping up because they are not taking ownership because we're taking their ownership away. Every time we step into their lane, we're taking their ownership away, saying, you can't do it unintentionally. I don't trust you and I'm going to do it for you. So it requires us to get really uncomfortable. It requires Brandon to get really uncomfortable, to do something different, to trust his GM to do this. And if things don't work out as they hoped, to just get learning instead of blame or shame. Well, you were wrong. What did you do? Hey, I'm trusting you. I want to learn with you. Well, how can we learn together around this? What support would you like around this? Let's brainstorm around this. Can we get curious around how the ball dropped? And what's your proper responsibility? What's the other's responsibility? And what's mine? We want to create a learning culture versus a control culture.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like I want to talk about this ego loop some more.
Okay.
Because it's big. It's big and it happens every day and we have no freaking clue that we're doing it. That's
right.
the scary thing. I think it's the unconscious things that we do every single day that when we can shed some light on them, we can start making some real differences.
Mhm.
And
That's
so
right.
I don't know it, and I want to learn it right now with you a little bit better because I
Awesome.
when we talked about this the other day, I got a glimpse of what it looked like and it scared the crap out of me
Oh, wow. Yeah,
because I
same.
was like, wow, I do this way more often than I should. I feel like I did. And it was back to this, you have a thought and then your thought has a feeling and then from that feeling there's an action.
That's right.
And so I have a thought, hey, we're going to be short staffed today. That feeling makes me anxious and a little angry.
Mhm.
And then I go in, but I'm happy. I want to perceive that I'm happy to be there and I want to be the leader everybody needs. And then I'm secretly raging
Mm.
inside and I may tell the owner, we may sit aside and I go, can you freaking believe this happened? And we have a little powwow where we blame and shame and all these things.
Gossip. Yeah.
And then you kind of feel that feeling and then it's out and then you kind of look back into it and go, what part? But when you have that thought and a feeling and then we do this action, that's where we start to manipulate. And that's where we formulate how we want people to perceive whatever it is. And we're
Yeah.
unauthentic in that moment.
Okay, so I just love that you said inauthentic, unauthentic. What is the word?
Not authentic.
There you go. There you go. There you go. So I just
Inauthentic.
want to appreciate Brandon right now because he's being vulnerable. And that is the major growth for an 8 in the leadership.
Not easy.
Not easy because 8s want to be controlling, and the way they're not trying to be mean. It's just because they came into the world thinking it's not a trusting place. And because it's not trusting, I can't be weak. I can't be vulnerable. That's the unconscious thinking of the Enneagram 8. So kudos to you for being vulnerable right here. I just want to appreciate you for sharing that and to notice what your pattern, right? I'm going to look like I've got this and I'm happy, but inside I'm like raging and I'm not aligned with myself. So when we're not aligned with ourselves, it causes more stress. Stress, dear ones, does not come from outside of ourselves. Stress comes from our beliefs that generates our feelings, and we then don't feel our feelings. We stuff them into our adrenals, and then our body reacts, and then it creates tension in our body, and then stress starts to run in our blood.
So you're saying stress is a choice?
Stress is a choice. Stress is a choice. And we know that when we're in stress, it's because of our thinking. That's all it is. It's the belief that we start to believe. It's a response
to something.
Yes, it's a response to us inside. It's our belief about ourselves. It's a belief about the situation or the people, the future. And we're in panic mode. And the ego constantly thinks we're wrong. We're going to go back to this again. Someone else is wrong or the situation's wrong. So you better get in and control it. This is true for every single person. Well, it's not working for us. So we want to love and accept ourselves that we have everything we need just in this very now moment to be present. So you mentioned breathing, right? You want to come back to this looping when you notice the work is noticing that we're in our pattern. That's all the work is because the pattern's going to run our life, our unconscious pattern, our entire life. The master of this work is noticing
when you're in that
pattern. Exactly. And loving and accepting ourselves that we're in the pattern or not in the pattern, taking a few deep breaths, letting the emotions pass through us, and then get curious around what are the emotions here to teach me? Can I look at the situation as a learning opportunity? And if not, I might be like, no, I'm too mad. I'm going to stay mad, but at least know I'm choosing that. Or no, I'm too anxious and I'm not going to shift into getting curious. And that's okay too. It doesn't mean you'll be there for the rest of your life. It just means in that very now moment. And then when you find yourself anxious, when you find yourself wanting to control or frustrated, remove yourself maybe from that situation, even if it's just 2 minutes. Go to the bathroom if you're in a restaurant and you're trying to control a situation, or you're in a boardroom and you know that you're in this, you can feel yourself revving up. Excuse yourself for a moment to get out of that moment, because when we speak or act from that triggered space, we will never get the relationship that we want to ourselves and to each other, and we'll never get the outcome we want. So all we got to do, like you started earlier, is saying pause. And the more we learn to pause more quickly, the more we could gain a new perspective of how we want to approach the situation.
Yeah, I love that. I want to bring in Susan.
Yeah.
She has asked a question.
Excellent.
Susan was wondering if any anger felt about this Valentine's Day situation has been fully felt or moved.
Yeah. Do you want to answer that?
I will tell you that I want to tell you that it is. I will say, no, I fully felt it and I've moved it. This is done. I'm already on to Easter.
Right.
But if we're completely honest,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's still there, still raw. I don't
Okay.
feel like we have a whole heart yes from everybody. We're still kind of, there's delicate emotions around it
Okay.
because so no, I
Okay,
don't
beautiful.
think and I
Okay.
love the idea of feeling that feeling and fully
So
feeling it through.
would you be willing right now
No. I'm
to
just kidding.
feel your anger? So what she's asking is, we can't move forward until, because we cognitive loop. We have the thought, which brings our emotions, but if we don't feel the emotion all the way through, the emotion's going to get bigger, and then the thought's going to get bigger, and we're just going to stay in this loop. So what she's asking is, in this now moment, maybe you could do just a big
Sure, everybody in their car would love to hear me scream into the microphone.
Or if you want to quietly do something, do you have a wall that you can go push against the, like you're going to push it over, and just let the energy of the anger in your body that lives in your body? Would you be willing to let that come through you right now?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, why not?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, hold on.
All right.
Okay, wow.
Check and see if there's more. Check the back of your neck where anger lives. Check the top of your shoulders. Check your chest, the upper chest, and your jaw. Is in your hands even. Is there anger in there?
No?
Just check one more time and let a grunt and see if anything releases. Just notice if your muscles relax. As we're doing this, guys, we want to see if our muscles relax by letting the emotion out through a sound.
It was really amazing how after I did that, I kind of sat down and went, oh, like it was almost like it was just a little bit sitting on my shoulder. And I said, get off of here. Go or feel it. Just get it out. You know, that's the same way with like resentment.
So is it still here right now?
I don't feel it.
It's gone?
I don't feel it at all.
Okay. So my desire for you is to keep checking, because 8s live in anger. 8s, 9s, and 1s on the Enneagram, angers towards others is the 8's mode. 9s are passive aggressive, and 1s are anger towards themselves. This is where they unconsciously, not
That's my
intentionally,
hardest
live.
part, is anger towards myself.
And I think towards others.
It can be true.
Villainization.
Yeah, it can be towards others. There's
Because they're not doing it right. They haven't fully agreed. So there's anger there
and
around
I've
it.
overcommitted to too many things, and I can't do the actual act of spending, painting done, all of the aspects that I need to do to ensure that's going to get done. It's a vicious cycle, and I'm mad at myself because I allowed this to happen. And there's where I live.
Okay, so
welcome to my inner head.
So Susan, what would you ask him next? Are you still there? What would you ask him next?
She said, she says, yeah, baby, beautiful release.
Yeah.
Like it. She was waiting for, she's like, give me a good.
Yeah, guys, and I want
feel
you
it.
Yeah, so we all get angry, right? So I always tell people, get in your car and squeeze your steering wheel really tight and let out a grunt or a yell if you're by yourself, or just squeeze it, because we get frustrated when people cut us off, and we hold anger more than we know. So the cost of holding anger in our bodies makes us sick, makes us not think clearly, and keeps us looping the same thought over and over again. So my desire for you is to keep just practicing, even though you might not feel it, you know it's there because it's been your pattern your whole life. So just releasing it without words, because we don't want to get caught in our ego thoughts, but just letting it rip.
You know, for me, the hardest thing for me to release is sadness.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I had a cousin die a little more than a year ago. It was April of last year. And I was my phone, these OneDrive memories has been showing up all these memories. 4 years ago, my grandfather, there's all these pictures of us. And I have been so sad over the past, and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get out of this, and that's affecting me
I
too because I
love
have
that
grief.
you're noticing it. So, first of all, would you appreciate your tender heart? Because eights have beautiful, chocolatey, caring hearts, the big, beautiful hearts. And they try to protect their hearts by not exposing their sadness because they believe that's weakness. So, would you just notice that you have this beautiful heart that loved your cousin so much and that you miss him? And you're probably just blocking it because you don't want to be vulnerable that you miss him.
I I I don't know if it can ever be filled. It's scary. You just don't know if it's ever gonna be something that goes away, but it's been hitting me more and more over just the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
past 2 weeks, I've just been, like, overwhelmed with sadness
I
on top of all this stuff, and I
see it.
I think that perpetuates the anger because I'm holding on to this sadness. I don't know how to release it.
Okay, so would you be willing to do it right now with me? Just like we did the anger? Would you be willing for a moment just to come inward with me?
I mean, I can try. I mean,
So gently close your eyes. You're always right where you need to be. Let go of the trying, let go of the fixing, and let your heart, if you want to put your hand on your heart, and allow yourself to just have the experience of missing your cousin and missing that you would just wish he were here, missing the sound of his voice, missing the relationship that you built over the years, missing your friendship with him. Would you just allow your heart to feel that missing and let it be as big as it wants to miss him? Let the disappointment that he's not here anymore be big as it wants to be in your body. And just see if you can breathe for a moment with your disappointment. Let your heart be as big as it wants and your body to be as big as it wants to be as sad as it wants. And see if you can continue to breathe so that you have a space to hold that sadness and also to release in your breath. And just take a few moments continuing to appreciate yourself and even thanking sadness for being here. Thanking sadness because you had significant meaning with this person, your cousin, significant meaning that you built with him and you just miss him. And sadness comes up because of loss, and letting the sadness complete itself to release out of your body, release out of your heart, release out of your mind, just in this now moment. Doesn't mean sadness won't come up again and again, but just in this now moment, letting it come up, pass through you. And sadness comes up because something wants to take its place, something new wants to come in. Sadness is around loss, and it happens so it can clear out a new space for something else to fill your heart. And when we don't feel sadness and loss all the way through, we can't welcome in what wants to come forward in our heart because we're still holding on to that loss. That's all we're doing here, that exchange for releasing the sadness and disappointment. Kind of like clearing out our closet when we have maybe a spouse that dies and we maybe don't clean out their clothes and we leave the closet full of their clothes because it's too painful to look at their clothes. It brings back too many painful memories. But as we start to welcome that they're not here anymore, welcome the sadness we feel, we eventually won't have that sadness drive us anymore. And we'll be brave enough to see and face the clothes that are hanging in the closet because we felt the sadness over and over again. And then we become eventually ready to take the next step and take those clothes off the rod and maybe donate them and make room for someone or something else to fill that closet. And that's all we're doing here. And it's a necessary process to allow the grief to be here and let it be as big as it wants over and over again until we're ready to take that next step. But there is no next step that needs to be happening until we can just be here right now with the sadness. So are you willing to just let it be here with you?
Yeah. Just letting it be here. And my brain went into all the, I feel like I need to do some sort of an act or something that allows me to fully express it. Kind of like symbolically taking those clothes you were just referencing and donating them or something like that. I don't feel like I've been able to fully, that's what the grieving and funerals and that kind of stuff is for. That I'm just not quite there yet.
Exactly. And grief is something that we will feel you will feel this the rest of your life. You will miss him. But it's whether grief runs you or whether grief is just passing through you.
Yeah.
Those are just the options. That's all. And sometimes you will just be stuck in it, and that's okay too. And you meet yourself with love and compassion that I'm just sad right now. I'm sad missing my cousin. And you meet yourself with love in that moment. There's nothing wrong with you. And it's because you love him so much that you miss him, that big, beautiful heart of yours. And that's all you do. You just keep meeting yourself and allowing that you're right where you need to be, feeling your feelings until you know when it's ready to take a very next step. And whatever that is, you don't need to know until it's time to know. Byron Katie always says, when it's time to know, you'll know. But until then, you're just with what is right here, right now.
All right. Well, that's our time today. Great having everybody here. That was, thank you for that.
You're so welcome.
Definitely some, just saying it out loud that I haven't told one person. So it feels good to say it out loud and on a podcast of all those things. But as we're talking about this stuff, I think that these are things that leaders are dealing with every day. Is that we put our businesses before ourselves, and we're constantly putting all of this emotional energy into this business. And we forgot that, hey, I might have something going on I need to take off that's affecting the business.
I love that
you're not actively looking at, and that's that balance I was talking about.
I love that. It's so beautiful. I'm so honoring your beautiful heart and your awareness and your practice with me, because guys, we're all just learning in this together. We're all just learning together. And like Susan likes to say, we're all just walking each other home. That's what we're doing together, right? If we're willing to see that we're all the same, that we're all beautiful beings. And if we can see that in our businesses and think the best of ourselves and each other, and notice when we don't, and love that part of us, that critic that we started this, the one that doesn't want us to thrive, the one that we want to say, shut up, because it's just scared and it wants to drive our life. Love that part of us that wants to control ourselves and others. Love the part of us that wants to shove down our feelings, shove down our authentic ways, right? That, what word I'm trying to say. The one that wants to be loved and accepted by others in order to be enough. Guys, you are enough just by being you. There is no one like you in all of eternity to live here at such a time as this. And this is what we want you to do, is to thrive by being you, not by what you achieve, not by what you can control, not by the money you have, not by the business growth you have, but because you're showing up and being you and being vulnerable with yourself and the people in your life that we're just learning together. And learning is what helps us thrive. Doing the same old thing is going to take us down and make us angry, depressed, conflictual with ourselves and with each other, right? And it's really the communication we have with ourselves, what we're telling ourselves and what we want to believe, and what we're telling ourselves about others and what we want to believe. That's all. It's all comes down to our communication to ourselves. Yeah. So what do you, before we close?
Great way to put a bow on it.
Yeah. And so before we leave, what do you want to believe about yourself today when your sadness comes? What do you want to tell yourself?
It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel that feeling and pause and feel it. Yeah. Don't stuff it down and act like it doesn't exist.
Let's talk about what we do want, not what we don't want. Because when we say what we don't want, we'll go down that path. So what do you want to say?
To myself?
Yeah. What's one sentence?
It's okay to be sad.
Beautiful. I welcome my sadness.
I welcome my sadness.
I welcome my sadness. And that is huge for an 8. Super, super huge. So I'm super excited and super celebrating you. All right, dear ones, we want to say we care about you all. The reason we're doing this podcast is because we don't want you to suffer. We want you to thrive. We want you to know the world is your oyster, depending on what you think, whether you feel your feelings all the way through, and whether you get curious about who you want to become and how you want to see the people in your world. That's always your choice. And you have so much power, more than you realize. And we believe in you, and we just want to practice this with you. You amazing leaders, you beautiful people, you're all leaders. Leadership is how you show up for yourself and how you show up for the people in your world. So we're celebrating you.
Well, I celebrate you, Deborah. Thank you so much for doing this and sitting down with us. And so excited. We got some really great episodes coming up in the next few weeks.
Yes,
can't wait to get this one out there. But we will see you again soon on Shut Up
and Thrive.
Bye, guys.